Hi, my name is Vivek Angre. I'm from the Northern Sydney Institute, part of TAFE, New South Wales. I'm going to demonstrate how to make bread without using store-bought yeast, using two basic ingredients, flour and water. The flour I'm using is just plain baker's flour, and I'm using mineral water. I'm not using water out of the tap because water in the tap has chlorine and fluorides. All I'm doing is taking equal parts of flour and water, 125 grams of flour and 125 ml of water at 22 degrees, mixing them together with a whisk. Putting it aside and resting it for 3 days at 22 degrees. What I am harvesting is the available bacteria and yeast that is within the flour and with the environment. You need to make sure that where you do store this, everything is nice and clean and tidy, so you don't get any unwanted bacteria or yeast contaminating the dough. After I've rested it for 3 days, that's what it will look like. If you shake it a little bit and smell it, it smells nice and sweet. There should be no discoloration on top, and you can smell the alcohol that is being produced. What I do now is I take half of this away to control the rate of fermentation, replace it with water and flour, once again the same water and the same flour, and I keep it at 22 degrees for the next 8 days, repeating the process. What I end up would be something like this. Once again, you can see there are large air bubbles. If I shake it, I can smell the alcohol that is being produced, and also I can hear the carbon dioxide that is being produced as well. What I do to this now, which we can now call this a poolish because it's nice and wet, I will make my dough to make my bread. Remembering I have not added any yeast to this, I've only harvested the yeast that is available in the environment as well, which was available within the same flour. I can take between 40 and 60% of my poolish or my ferment and mix it in with a kilo of flour. That means if I have 1 kilo of flour, I'll go up to 60% of poolish. That means 600 grams of this, 2% of salt, and about 50% of water to make a dough. In the end, I will end up with a dough like this. What I do with this dough then is I divide it up, mold it, score it, and prove it, and then put it into the oven. Here is some bread I made previously using the same process. This bread started 8 days ago with just these two ingredients. Turned into a ferment, turned into a poolish, turned into my dough, which turned into these beautiful baguettes. You can tell by the bubbles on the loaf of bread that this has had a long fermentation period, and you can also notice by the crust that's on the bread. Here's a loaf of bread that took only 3 hours to bake. You can see there is no air bubbles on this, even though it does have a nice crust and crazing on top. The flavors within these 3 loaves of bread will be absolutely beautiful, and the crust and the internal structure and the flavor is absolutely wonderful.